Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and welcome Mike Jones, please.
Hey Dale, how's it going? This looks like a serious subject tonight.
It is somewhat serious, and this sign applies to both stories. You're going to see how.
I see.
Okay, so one of the things that I often will have over my shoulder is the front page of badcounty.com so that you can go and you can see, oh, look, here's a story about the document that we shared with you that came from the state. Here's Cheryl Walker holding court in the little back room. Here's Simon Hare feeling that perhaps he's not doing exactly what he should be doing. And then one of my very favorites is when we look at all the candidates who were up for re-election. I'm going to switch over, though, to something that happened today that's it's momentous. It's amazing. I haven't seen this in 15 years since I've been here. It's an actually accurately written story from the doggone Daily Courier. And it's written by Eder Campuzano. I don't know if you can see all this, but it says commissioners violated open meetings laws. It's a funny, it's strangely worded, comma, ethics board says. It's kind of a backwards way to write that. Anyway, it's got a picture of the three commissioners there. Commissioners violated open meetings laws. So we're going to play for you a clip of me yesterday. Who would have thought we'd play me? And I'm explaining for the very first time anywhere except on this show what it was that's recently happened, and the commissioners would really prefer that you not know. Go ahead and play that, Mike.
Matthews Grants Pass. I have in my hand a 100-page document from the state of Oregon Government Ethics Commission, signed by the Assistant Attorney General of the state of Oregon. All three commissioners have been found guilty as of Friday of violating the Open Public Meetings Law. This was a long time coming from the state because they don't like to find anybody guilty of anything.
Pick the microphone up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. They just don't like to do that, but the evidence was piling up so fast that they just couldn't ignore it anymore. Now, in this, Keith X says, well, paraphrasing, I'm not quite sure that I understand what the laws are, except, of course, that we've told him, and he said in this room 3 times, I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. That statement by me to the OGEC made a big difference in their finding that this idea that the 3 of you don't know what the law is. You admitted you do know what the law is, but you don't care. So, what are the results of this? Well, after talking with the state, they told me a couple of times, they said, look, we're going to expend the time and effort to look into this and find them guilty with subpoenas of your records, with testimony offered by you through your lawyers. Not through Wally Hicks, through your lawyers. After all that effort, subpoenas and the rest of it, what are we going to do about it? Because they can follow through, and they did, finally. But what they said to me is, if you keep electing these kinds of people, we can't do anything for you. Well, I agree. If I was the state and the regulators, I would say, we're not going to do anything more for you if you just keep putting yourself back in the same hot water, you citizens of Josephine County. Why would they do anything ever again? So you're going to say, well, this is nothing, this is just a mountain out of a molehill, it's still under investigation. No, it's not, it's over. You're guilty. They found you so. So certainly someone says, well, really, what does guilt mean in this world of ours? We all know. You've been found guilty. Now they're going to charge you $1.95 and give you a slap on the wrist and maybe a copy of the rules because you don't know what they are. Yes, you do. So the end result is we're going to have to move forward without you. We're going to have to consider you as part of the past. We're just going to come up with solutions of our own. This is me turning my back on the past.
Now that's dramatic. Well, you know what? Listen, here's something ironic. You were saying that he was probably going to say that they're making a mountain out of a molehill. In the Courier tonight, the bottom line is the mountain that has been built by some folks is basically turning out to be a molehill, Heck said. Prognosticator of the future.
Thank you very much. But
Yes.
unfortunately, Cassandra, which is doomed to always say what the future would be and no one will believe her. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. See, the mountain that we've made is getting smaller, according to Keith Eck. It's not getting bigger. It's getting smaller, Mike. Don't you get with the program?
Well, you know, I mean, the problem is that throughout this article, they're denying that there's any wrongdoing at all. So this just buttresses the case for corruption here, that even though in the face of being told that you're guilty of these laws for which they should be humble, they instead are arrogant. You know, what more do you need to know?
Well, after I was done, Cheryl Walker was really ready to say something, bud. She didn't wait till well, they do have protected time, but she didn't wait till the very end. First, she said that that the things that I said were false.
Right.
Everything was false. She said that it was the things that I said were misleading, and that the things that I said were absolutely untrue. So, interesting thing happened. Once again, I've never seen it happen before. There was actually another reporter in the room who, as soon as he left, he's the new guy at the Courier. As soon as he left, even before he got back to his office, he called the state, the OGEC, the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. He called them before getting back, even before getting back to the office. This is momentous. And he asked them, did you guys find them guilty? Now, I already knew the answer to this question. In fact, I knew what their answers were going to be. It's a mountain out of a molehill. It's nothing. It's you don't understand anything, Mr. Matthews. Okay.
Nothing happened. By the way, you know, and again in the Courier, they threw Wally under the bus again.
Yeah, they did. They did, because these guys are trying to say, well, it's Wally's fault. No.
Yeah.
No.
I wonder how Wally feels about that.
I wonder if he's happy with the side that he has now chosen.
We'll never know, because he doesn't talk to us anymore.
No, he won't talk to us anymore, because he denied that the tape that you've seen, that those things were on that tape. He just decided to simply deny that they happened. Well, and then when I saw him the next time, I was trying to talk to him. He said, I'm not going to be talking to you because you told everybody that I denied it, and I didn't deny it. Now he's denying the denial. Oh, he's chosen a side. I mean, he's definitely on their side. That's it. Sorry. I feel bad about it, but I can't help the guy. He's chosen which way to go. He's elected. He's supposed to be accountable to you. Half the time? All the time? None of the time. Sorry, guys. Okay, so it's very important, I think, that the Courier decide to check out a story. Who would have thought? And I already knew that what the state said about finding them guilty. Now, you're going to see in the weeks coming that somebody's going to say, well, they didn't actually find them guilty. They found that they violated the law, but that doesn't technically mean guilty. Okay, we already tell you that now. That's what they're going to say. Finding that they violated the law doesn't mean they're guilty of violating the law. It means they're violators of violating the law, or some stupid way of saying things, right? I called them myself, and they told me, independently of anybody else, we found them guilty. And I said, guilty? You know what I'm like. And I said, guilty? Yes, we found them guilty. I always ask 3 times. I did with Wally Hicks. So you say it didn't happen? So, and I asked him, guilty? Yes, guilty. Okay, so I got that out of him. So Sandy Casanelli called them. I didn't know she was going to, separately. And she said, did you find them guilty? Yes, guilty. And then Eder Campuzano from the newspaper called them and said, would you use the word guilty? Yes, guilty.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably enough sources to overrule the credibility of Cheryl Walker.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
Yeah.
and Simon Keith X said nothing because, see, one of the main reasons they're not believable to the OGEC, who Oregon Government Ethics Committee, who wants to believe everything about elected officials, is woohoo, wonderful. Let's get with the program. One of the reasons they don't believe that is because I told them that Keith Heck had said, I know we're breaking the law. There's no question in his mind. And I don't care. So now when they're saying, well, we just don't know what the law is, that doggone Wally Hicks is not telling us.
Well, they have now been informed what the law is, and they apparently still don't care, because instead of meeting this with contrition like one would, like, humility, I'm sorry, even if the violation is inadvertent, you still have humility about it and say, I should have known better in that particular case. I didn't. I'm sorry about that. It won't happen again.
There's no need to grovel on the carpet, but you folks out there, we've said many times they have an imperial attitude. Now, which one matches best? Oh, they seem to be contrite. No, they seem to still have an imperial attitude. Which one?
Yes, and I would say that at some point in the future here, if like from here on out, or from the time that when they received the notice here that they've been found guilty, you would think from that point forward, you'd go, hey, listen, it's every single day we cross the T's and dot the I's. That's what we're doing from here on out, or at least for the next couple of weeks until the heat's off. And they don't really seem to be doing that.
What happened Monday night? Monday night, we played the tape for you. Keith Eck was in Cave Junction. They have once every 3 months, 4 times a year only, they meet together with the city council of Cave Junction. There was a quorum of city councilors. There was not a quorum, to be clear, of the commissioners. There was supposed to be, but there wasn't, okay? So when the mayor of Cave Junction says, no, we're not going to take any questions because this is a private meeting, well, that's obviously not in concert with the law. And Keith Eck said, yeah. Has he learned a lesson? No. Apparently, he should say, I just learned a lesson about that, and I'm good. No, he already said he knows the law.
Yeah,
told the courier, and we're gonna read that word to word, not tonight, but we'll read that word for word to you. She says, I'm well familiar with what the law is, and we didn't break it.
Yes. Okay. If she's so familiar with what the law was, then how can she use Wally Hicks as an excuse in this particular case? Those two things don't go together. If you know the law, then and you're the commissioner, you're the general. Wally Hicks is just the lieutenant here. So you can't be saying that. I mean, you should be the one knowing that you're doing things above board. And
how many times for how many years have they just made fun of us for bringing up any of this stuff? We don't care. How many times have they told us, and I've mentioned this to you before, why don't you just, in that sing-song voice, why don't you just file a report with the Government Ethics Commission? Well, one is we knew after the first couple of times they weren't going to do anything. Suddenly, probably because of the heat due to the governor, Kitzhaber, suddenly these guys are actually kind of saying, well, maybe we should follow the rules. You think?
Right. So, and another couple of things might occur to one in such a position if you were to take the contrition position, or at least being a little bit humble that, hey, we've been checked by the authorities here. So now maybe we'll answer people's questions respectfully and treat people decently and don't condescend, that sort of thing. I don't think we really have that to look forward to, but maybe they will moderate their behavior in respect to the breaking of the law. Some of the more egregious things probably won't happen, maybe for the next month or two.
Well, I'll tell you what happened today. So I'm in the little back room with the commissioners. As always, I'm watching them. I'm trying to hold them accountable. That's what you asked us to do. And be sure to click like about 84 times on the show. You can't, but okay. So I'm back there. The door is open. It's election season. The ballots are in the mail. It's very clear from the videotape that we shot last time that Cheryl Walker was more than happy to admonish us not to break the law. Don't talk about the election during the time when people are bringing in their ballots. Don't do that in the end basket or in the courthouse. In the courthouse at all, you can't do that. It's against the law. And then she went straight ahead and did exactly that and violated the law. And I sent that in to the state, and they just kind of, well, whatever.
And that was what, like last week or the week before?
Oh,
like
no, that happened last year. Well, or it happened at the
last. But she just did it a couple of weeks.
She just did it again now in this meeting this morning. And that somebody said something about law enforcement and how some folks are a little upset about vagrants, and I think it was Cave Junction, that were getting away with, doing some really crazy stuff. And she says, I'm going to paraphrase, but we can play back the tape for you. She says, if people aren't going to vote to increase their own police presence, then they just get whatever they deserve. And until they vote on things that will increase their police presence, why, they can just go whatever your grandmother would say.
Yeah, that's a little bit vague. I mean, it's obvious what she's talking about, but she didn't say. A
little obvious, yes.
They should vote for the sales tax.
No, she didn't say
they
that.
Will get what they need.
But you were talking about being sensitive about the law,
right? Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, there's no sensitivity. You would think, I brought up last night, if you got a bad sunburn, every time the wind blows, you go, ooh. Well, not Cheryl. Are you kidding me?
No. Yeah, no, she's like a combination, between Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi in terms of.
Oh, she's like nothing like any Republican. And that's true. Yes.
Right. We're all above the law. Well,
she is a Democrat. She's a Democrat. I already know that.
Right. That's why I'm making that equation.
Oh, okay.
And she's allied with all the same causes and that kind of stuff. We have her number.
Well, there's a lady that I see at every Thursday meeting. That she will go and laugh at every joke Keith Hicks makes. He can say, "Oh my gosh," and she go, "Oh, ha, ha, ha. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard." And people kind of look like, what? Anyway, and she goes to the weekly business sessions, and I'm sitting there telling a couple of people about what happened, because there are a number of people that have no idea what was going to be in the Courier. I didn't know exactly, but I had a fairly good idea. Anyway, this is fascinating to me. She's one of those people. And she says, whatever it ends up in the Courier, it's all lies.
Well, and that's Kool-Aid drinking. That is just Kool-Aid drinking, because these are documents that came right out of the state. Did we falsify the documents from the state? I mean, you think the commissioners would be in trouble if there was actually any teeth in this? We would be in jail right now if we were falsifying their documents, and then also falsifying the recording of the minutes. Boy, I'm sure that'd get you in some hot water too. And then, the guy at the Courier risks the future of his entire career in reporting by taking what the false stuff that we manufactured and gave to him and writes a story on it. Yeah, that all makes sense.
What's happening in this picture, just to have a little fun with it, is Simon Hare's going like this, because they didn't get rid of me on some false thing a long time ago and say, boy, we've got to just ban this Dale Matthews from coming to meetings. You might want to think, how the heck did we get this story? This is about executive session. We don't have a microphone. We don't even have a microphone that you can hear. You heard how bad that audio was. We don't have any microphone that will give you anything. We could. You're paying for terrific microphones. They're mismanaged by IT, but we should have pristine sound. We know it's available. We can't get access to it. No public access to the wonderful audio. If you might like to hear what's going on, It's just me on a rant about we're paying for it. We can't get access to it. They won't give access to us. So Simon Hare, what he's thinking about, I'm making this up, and this photo is, why didn't we toss this guy out earlier? How did he get this information? This Sandy got it? I got it? How did we get that? Well, it wasn't from sitting out in the hallway and monitoring with a dish or something what they're saying. That would be illegal, and we wouldn't do that. Even if it wasn't illegal, it's unethical. I'm not going to do that. No. How did we get this? Mike, you've got an idea of how we got this information.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that Sandy is on top of all of the notifications for meetings. She looks at every one of them. She reads every item on the agenda, and she goes, hey, wait a minute. What's this? You say you're going into executive session again about this thing or about nothing when you're supposed to notify people what you're going into executive session for. So, there's tracks here. You can't, you may not be privy to what happened inside executive session, but you can have a pretty good idea that they didn't want you to know what it was that they were talking about because they didn't put it on the agenda there. And then I would assume that when they did this investigation, they examined what was discussed.
Yep, and look how long it took us to put this together. This was a very tedious process, and we were right. It's that pattern recognition thing that I'm always talking about. We've got to put it all together, and you go, wait a minute, that's a little odd. How does that match with this? I can't connect the dots, says Simon. Well, we did connect the dots. We both did it independently. And adding all that stuff together is, wait a minute, what's this matters from commissioners, which didn't used to be on there, during an executive session? You can't have matters from commissioners because that's any topic you want to talk about. You have to be specific. That's not the only thing that's involved here, but when you add it all together, that's interesting. Here's the decision. Where did that decision, and you've heard me say it before, where did they make that decision in an open public meeting? Well, they decided among themselves that there were some things that were just too embarrassing to talk about in public. And so they decided, with Wally Hicks' help, he knows better. They all know better. Cheryl Walker said in the newspaper that she does know better. We've lectured all of them about this ad nauseum. And they just decide to do it because that's their attitude. We're just going to do it. I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. So we put it together, buddy. Now, if we can just get access to some of those financial records, oh, brother. Those are very difficult to get your hands on, but you elect the right people this next time. It doesn't necessarily mean me, and it sure as heck doesn't mean Mike, but if you elect the right people, we'll have access to that information. Then we'll find out what happened to 90 people that were going to be hired because you put a plaque on a rock. What happened to that money? And we'll be able to tell you more about how they signed a contract for $94,000 and they're telling us it's only for $3,000. Really? So I requested today the documents, officially requested, because I used to be able to say, oh, I'd like this, and then come in with the paperwork. Now they don't do that. Now you have to be there and you have to fill it out ahead of time. Well, it's going to take us a while to get that. Okay, we'll wait. We waited on this one. Did they really sign this contract a couple times before about do you remember what it was, Mike?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact
management
performance grant.
Performance grant, right. Now, did they sign that same thing a couple of years in a row and today's just the same thing? Well, if it was $94.94 and $3,000, that seems a little odd. Whenever you say that seems a little odd, look into it. Did they pay $3,000, $3,000, $3,000? How much have we paid? Have we really done it? Now you got a question. Have they done anything? When Cheryl says something is true, is it true at all?
And then what is this money ultimately paying for?
That's
taking it to another depth there. But I mean, it was just clear that, listen, she made a mistake. She didn't know what she was talking about when she said, 3,000. They didn't. I'm sure if this has been done before, just as Simon was going, well, these are usually 50%.
Yes.
That's what it is. And so she messed up, but in her normal way. I mean, listen,
she said it twice.
She's had an opportunity since then to come back and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong about that. It wasn't 3,000. It was 93,000.
You hear us do it.
Brain fart,
Not very often, but occasionally we'll say, oh, well, we got that slightly wrong. And we do it right away. We don't do it the way the Courier did. We wrote a story together with AP, and then suddenly they say, oops, AP made a big mistake. We weren't involved at all. Yeah, it's not like that. Well, so there's another reason why there's danger this evening. It's danger evening. And that first, I'm going to apologize for the audio. We should have terrific audio. We don't. It's the best that I can do. You're hardy Americans, and they're counting on you. I believe they're counting on you to be put off by the fact that the audio that you're listening to is not perfect. They do not want perfect audio.
Yeah, really, listen. If they were to do this right, recorded minutes, and it wouldn't cost very much at all. I'm sure in their world, it would cost 12 grand to have everybody on a mic in here. I mean, that's how they would do it. But the bottom line is you could have a mic sitting in front of every one of these people and all of that recorded, and it wouldn't cost very much to set up, and it would be super cheap to do.
Tell them again what happened when you brought that microphone in, and asked Keith Heck very nicely if it was okay if you put this all reporters.
Well, listen, you know what? We're the enemy, so he's not going to allow the microphone to be stuck on there, even though if a reporter came in from somewhere else, they would allow that.
They do allow that. Speaking of being the enemy, just one other note about the Courier. I like this new guy, but all references to me and anything that I had to do with this investigation into the commissioners were erased from the story in the Daily Courier. They weren't going to give me any credit. Are you kidding me? Right? Well, why would they do that? I mean, I'm just the guy that revealed it, but you could never give credit to some. I even gave them a 100-page copy of the whole thing. There was no acknowledgement of the fact that we've done anything to help them cover the story, including telling them who to contact to verify the story. They're not going to say anything at all about Bad County. What, are you kidding me?
I'm pretty sure that there's a page in their policy manual on not acknowledging Dale Matthews.
Well, not just me, but where did you first hear about this? This is our third night doing this. The TV stations are not going to cover this. I called them too, and I said, now that you've seen it in the Courier, are you going to do a story? Well, as one guy said, he said, well, where's the transcript of the final meeting? And I said, well, there isn't one yet, and they're not going to approve it until their next meeting in a month where they approve the minutes. Oh, well, we can wait. No, don't step on my line here. I was leading up to a wonderful line, and they're going to approve it in a month. He said, oh, well, we can wait. We can wait.
Well, listen, perhaps he was concerned about the validity of the recording. Now, what he could have done had the link just been forwarded to him, he could see that it's sitting on a government server.
Yep. I offered it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you don't need a transcript with an official transcript. If you have, recording from them, I believe that most of us are able to discern English words when they're enunciated properly.
Now, let's suppose that you had a couple of people who were paid. They call them professional journalists. I am a member of the Society of Professional Journalists. Let's suppose that you had a couple of people. Let's say we're working at a television station. We run a little television station. It's internet-based, okay, no advertising. Let's suppose that they had, any of those 3 television stations over in Medford had people there that they could send out that are called reporters. And one of those reporters got on the telephone and talked directly to the head guy, Ron Burson, at the OGEC and said, is it true? And then Ron Burson could potentially tell them the same thing he told the Courier. Yes, it's true. But they're not going to do that. They're going to wait for at least a month. until there's a piece of paper that says it, and then they're going to zoom in on a piece of paper. This doesn't make good television, you know. Not going to cover the story.
Well, you know what? Listen, from what I've noticed, that the stations over in Medford are pretty much they don't really want to rock the boat with local governments. Yeah. And I don't know if they fear that if they cover something that they're going to be cut off of access. Now, if they do some story critical of the entire board of commissioners in Josephine County, well, they may not be interviewing those people again until they're gone.
This is a pretty good story. They were all found guilty.
Yeah, it is a pretty good story, but apparently they're doing this number, you know. And,
okay,
and listen, you should draw whatever conclusion you need to draw from that.
Yes, I'm going to draw the bathwater, and it's for Keith. Okay, so next story. So this happened this morning. I mentioned to you, let's just all be hardy Americans. Listen to the audio. We're going to stop it often, early and often, to talk about what we're hearing here. And so Mike's going to roll it. I just didn't have time to cut it up into little pieces so that we could talk about it, you know, in between. But we're going to stop and start it. And some of you will be interested in the removal of Fielder Dam and what we're going to do about the hilarity that ensues. It's not really that funny. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, V. First of the water month. Okay. Well, we have the contract.
Yeah, we postponed it thinking we would discuss it today, but there's additional information, right?
Well, it's going, it'll be on next Wednesday.
Still be on next Wednesday
At the business session.
We can discuss it here today, though.
Yeah, sure.
The action was taken yesterday.
The action was taken yesterday. Yesterday, we took the action
Put it
to
on
move
the
it to
April
Wednesday.
which you can,
Yeah, but I want to discuss. I haven't been privy to this. And there needs to be a public discussion before it leads to a decision.
No kidding.
Wow, look at Simon being all proper and everything.
That's not the interpretation that I have.
Yesterday after the meeting.
Yesterday it was on the Wednesday session. Yeah. There was a question you had yesterday that you posed in regards to not coming out of general fund money. It's not.
Okay.
The discussion, the meeting with Diane Hoover some time ago in regards to her budget having funding available with the environmental funding.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is we're pursuing a proposal to go before the legislative board to be able to get the funding as well.
Okay.
Now, is she talking about funding for the testing of the water and all the stuff down near the inlet?
Yes, that's exactly what she's talking about. And the question that Simon Hare had brought up is he said, okay, look, you've got a certain amount of funding that's applied by the state and probably the feds too. And right. that's for things that you need to do. Okay, but there's a little flexibility in this particular funding. Now, and then the rest of the budget for health, for testing of waters and other things, comes from the general fund. It comes directly out of our pockets, okay? Mm. And so if you take some of this money that you've dedicated to something else and you decide that it's okay, according to legal counsel, to spend it on water testing, then that means that the money that you were going to use from this will need to be supplanted by more money from the general fund.
Right.
You're going to need to pull more in for things that could go for rural patrols, well, or something else, or right. from protecting our animals, or something that you really care about. Okay.
I got a question.
So, let me just finish that one thought. So that being the case, how it's going to be funded and where the money is going to come from is a big question, because if you want those other things like rural patrols and your pets to be taken care of or whatever, then you don't want money being sucked out of the general fund to replace the money that's going into this. You don't want that. Go ahead.
Right.
Mike. Sorry.
Yeah. But why are we doing this?
Oh, this is coming up. Oh, that's the best question of all.
I mean, in just initially, who runs the water treatment plant?
In Grants Pass, the city of Grants Pass runs it.
Okay, the city of Grants Pass. Who drinks the water that comes from there?
From what I understood at this meeting and have heard in previous meetings, the only use that the county has for that water, the streaming past there, the county now, it doesn't, people live in the city or living in the county. Okay. The only use that they have is to water. This is what they said. I'm hoping I'm right, that they water the lawns at one park.
Yeah, and that would probably be, well, anyway. But
it might be Indian Mary. I think I understood that. Great, go ahead.
Well, I doubt that they're transporting Grants Pass city water down to Indian Mary Park to water the lawn.
Well, I got that.
That'd be a hell
I apologize.
of a trip.
I was wrong.
Yes, Dale was wrong.
The state was right. I was wrong. Okay. All right.
But to me, doesn't it seem a little bit weird that does the city have no interest in doing this?
Now that you're going to hear, and wait till you hear what Cheryl has to say about this. Wait till you hear this, and Keith backs her up. I'm going to save that. Let's save it for everybody. But Mike's first question is a good one. Why is the county? I mean, we're all concerned. I mean, I'm concerned about, I don't know, water in New Jersey. Of course, I'm an American.
And listen, there's no disputing. The city is in the county. But, hey, where are the deep pockets here? Are we not falling off the fiscal cliff?
Apparently not.
Every single time, when somebody says, hey, I want to do something, you go, well, let's run that through the fiscal cliff filter and see what comes out the other side. I mean,
running it through a filter, good idea for
yes,
water
right.
Yes.
And so why are they not doing that every single time? You really need to. They don't. Obviously, it's not an issue to them.
Well, now don't be thrown off, everybody, by the idea that Cheryl's talking about a long list of federal and state agencies that could help us. We don't have any of them yet. First of all, we don't have any of them yet. Okay, but they're about to sign a contract with this private company that's going to test this for years and years and years and years, and they don't know where the money is going to come from, but they're just saying.
But the county will be on the hook for it.
Oh yeah, and they were just saying yesterday at the weekly business session that one of the problems is what you don't want to have is something where you do have funding already from the state, but you're going to spend part of that on this project, which may be a boondoggle, you decide, and then you're going to need to replace that with more general funds coming from all of the rest of us.
Yeah, right.
So we'll pay.
Now, Grant, listen, I'll tell you, it's not a boondoggle. It's entirely prudent to test this water. It's
by
just
the county.
It's entirely generically speaking. It's entirely prudent to test this water because there may well be harmful substances coming down the river. But I don't know that it's the county's charge to do that.
Now, one other thing to listen. I'm sorry. One other thing to listen to on this is, remember, there was so much talk about how this dam was taken down, and there was this huge pile of
sediment. Yeah.
Sediment that was, full of arsenic and stuff, and nobody did anything about that. Wait till you hear Eric Schossma say, well, actually they did get rid of a lot of that sediment. Really? Nobody's ever said that before. Okay, let's listen to a little bit more of the tape. We're going to stop it. We'll keep stopping and starting. You'll see.
So it's not coming out of general fund. That was your question.
Well, that, and I don't want it, so if you take it out of some other fund, but we have to backfill a general fund dependent department, it's like planning, spending a bunch of money on something, but it's not general funds, and we have to supplant that lack of revenue by general funds. That's my concern, and I don't want that to happen.
That's a
good point.
Stipulated yesterday.
Agree.
It's not going to have anything to do with general fund.
Stipulated yesterday, have nothing to do with general funds.
So we're working with the e-board to get the funding for it. But the reason to move ahead is we're starting to get rain. They haven't released anything from the dam. We haven't had any deluge rains.
There's no dam, right?
Up above up
There's no
above.
filter dam.
No, there's no fielder dam. What I'm saying is that the Lost Creek Dam up there, they haven't released any water that would come down and scour the river, because if this is starting to wash down out of the creek into the
Do we have a
river.
map of this area? That wasn't.
Did you have a map?
Yeah.
He's asking questions. Wow.
Well, and you know what? He's right. I believe Fielder Dam is on a tributary creek. It's not on the Rogue River.
No.
Yeah.
And he's asking, hey, do you have a map? And
Yeah,
sure,
do you have a map? I'll show you on a map as if that's going to do any good. She
it
sounds
won't
like
do us any good because they never show us what they're looking at. And when we ask for a copy of the map, we get black on black.
Well,
It's in the toner. It's going crazy because it's all black. The whole dang piece of paper is black. There's your transparency.
well, okay. Now, here's the other thing you ought to be concerned about is here's somebody that's on board. We're going to spend a bunch of money after this project, which we're not really sure who should be spending this money, but she doesn't even know what she's talking about. She doesn't know where this Fielder Dam was, or we're releasing water that's going to go past it, and she doesn't even know. She has no idea what she's talking about, and yet she's making decisions here.
Now,
These other two, I think, sometimes go along with her because if they don't want to see her get all mad and start writing.
what is her power over these guys? It's a mystery.
I have no idea.
I'm just dying for you to hear some of this. So get a spoiler
Okay.
alert. Okay. So, but at one point, I'm sure all of us thought, now we know rains are coming. Of course we know rains are coming. Yeah. And then the guy comes in and says, well, we better do this testing pretty soon. Okay, well, first of all, testing should have been done right away. It should have been done before. And then it should have been done since then. And one could go out and do that testing and then say later, I've got the test, why don't you, reimburse me? There's no problem with that. But the big thing is, you don't need to do a grand and glorious, all-encompassing, let's look at the fish, let's look at the wildlife, let's study the birds, let's study the birds' entrails. You don't need all that kind of stuff if what you want to do is go out there and pull a couple of samples, right?
Yeah, no.
Why not pull the samples now before
Hello?
the rain starts? Just go do it.
Yeah. You know what? Whatever. I would be interested to know if the city counterpart of this discussion is taking place.
There's a good question, and we're going to find out about that. But here's the other thing about this pulling the samples now. We have absolutely nobody in the health department, or not even one of the commissioners, that can go out there and reach down and pull out a couple of samples and to put them into a sealed bottle. I don't even know what I'm doing, you guys, but here's the sample. It's all ready for you. It looks like a sample to me. And then you would hand it over to somebody at some point before the rains start.
Now, let me tell you, I have extensive experience in collecting these types of samples because I ran a public water system, and that's what they called it. That's what I had to get certified for and all this garbage. When I was living down there in Napa before I moved up here, I had a number of rental units, and in order to supply water out of my spring to these rental units, I had to go through massive testing every year, and that testing and tight control has only ratcheted up since I left there. Now they have water meters going into the tank, coming out of the tank. They test it 4 or 5 times a year. It costs like $7,000 or $8,000 a year to do the testing for this thing. It's crazy. I'm so glad I'm not subject to that anymore. However, taking these samples is not all that hard. And when you're testing for certain things, you have to collect it in a certain way. And all of that, instruction is given to you. Certainly somebody who knows could say, here's how you need to collect these particular samples, or, hey, I'll go down and collect the samples. They'll be there. They'll be ready when we need to do this or whatever.
It's better than waiting for the rains to wash wash out all the scientific integrity of it. Even if you have something that's only halfway scientific integrated, wouldn't it be better to have it now? And what about that guy that we saw from Gold Hill? Remember, the one that must not compete with government, really? And that guy lives in Illinois Valley. He knows how to test water. I'm not blaming that guy. I'm just saying we have people that can do things.
Well, there may be an issue with, a sample if you're testing for a particular thing where you need to take the sample and test it immediately or within a certain time frame. That may be an issue. But why they don't just, these are not incredibly expensive. I don't think some of the big ones were for heavy metals and for things like PCBs and stuff like that.
No, what's going to happen now is they want to test near the entry to the water supply for Grants Pass, so
as they should.
What the base number is, right?
Of course,
they're not going to see any arsenic and that kind of stuff there, but they need a base to compare to. So my point is, why are Simon wasn't even sure he wasn't sure they were going to talk about it at this meeting. This is the last meeting chance that they'll have before their weekly business session coming up again. And they're going to vote on this thing on Wednesday. They almost voted on it yesterday. Even though nobody knew anything, they still don't know anything about it, and they're going to vote on it. And the reason they need to do this right away, like yesterday, is because the rains are eventually coming.
Right. And it does occur to me though, why is the city why have they not already done this? They are intaking water from that, right? Why can't they just take samples from the stuff that they're intaking and go, hey, here are the levels of this, before, and here are the levels. And don't they know this stuff?
You know that they're testing the water when it comes in, because when it comes in, they have to compare it with when it goes out. They're already doing it. Why don't we get the numbers from them as a baseline?
Yeah, it's odd. Listen, I had to have, I would have known what this stuff was, and I was running a water system for 20 houses. So the idea that somehow this is a big production or this is some kind of big deal or whatever, that's dumb.
How long has the city of Grants Pass had a water treatment plant? I don't know, but let's suppose that that's a decade. Okay. You mean to tell me that we don't have monthly numbers? We don't have monthly numbers about what the contaminants are that are coming. Of course we do. Wait for the rain or beat the rain. We've got years and years and years and years and years.
Well, why wouldn't the board? Why wouldn't the board here get on the phone and say, hey, you guys over the city, hey, can you come over and sit in on this board meeting here? We want to talk about this thing, and so that we're all on the same page. Why hasn't that happened?
Now, I'm going to encourage you, Mike Jones. Oh, no, don't do this, Dale. I'm going to encourage you to come Wednesday and ask that question at the weekly business session.
Okay. In the meantime, let's watch the rest of this video.
Pertinent parties in the back. Do you have a map on you?
Yeah, map. Anyway,
Mr. Chair would indulge me. It's probably a good chance to ask the board to see my memo.
Yes.
Yes.
I know you have not. So the memo I articulated that
listen to this.
Parent contractor in this is a personal friend of mine.
Yes, I did see that.
Yes, I had no participation in this matter thus far. And even in light to be ultra cautious if the chair and the board would permit me to just disengage at this point.
Yeah, well,
so it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the testing different places along the river, along the creek area, where the dam is moved and then down to the river. So my concern is when we start getting washing rains down the creek and washing us into the river, and then we open the dams, we're not going to have any readings down here to know what happened.
Right.
So that's it. He's not coming back.
Yeah. And so he knows this. Is this Eric? Is that who
That's Eric Shosma with his back to us. Now, Wally he knows all about this stuff, and he's known about this stuff for a long time. This is the first time he's ever made that announcement. He left the room, and he didn't come back.
Well, I think he's trying to avoid any appearance of impropriety at all, and that's prudent.
Good, and it's an interesting thing. What kinds of effects scrutiny, not from the public, they don't care, but scrutiny from the controlling authority, finally, what kind of effect that can have The rest of them haven't learned any lessons. Well, maybe Simon has, but the other two
listen,
haven't learned
Simon,
any lessons.
listen, in the beginning, it was very, very clear that Simon was going, well, we want to be proper about this and all this kind of stuff. No, he's trying to keep it in line, and good. That's what and he knows that there's a camera watching him all the time.
Yes.
And so he's trying to and listen, fine. That's good.
Good. Terrific. What more could we want? Go ahead, Mike. Right. Well, we could stop making lunkhead decisions, but not going to get that.
Yeah.
The challenge that we've been having conversation with Mr. Walker and Mr. Heck, and to this point is we're trying to beat the first major rain because we're trying to establish a solid benchmark and baseline for what hamlets are. Above Fielder Dam at the site and down to the confluence of the Rogue River and Evans Creek. And we're trying.
Because I was thinking that the dam, Lost Creek, was above this area.
No. What I'm meaning is if it washes it down and we're going to test there at the confluence and it's already washed away.
Yeah, so we're kind of on the time crunch. Had we known this was going to be an issue, we could have obtained funding for this project well before the damage removed. But it was kind of a big surprise for all of us the way it happened. Also, if I might interject, my team is also very willing to help participate in trying to locate funding. Again,
so the process for selecting this contractor was done, vetted through our process.
Yes.
All of that.
There was three people who contacted. One firm did not respond. The other firm said this is beyond their area of coverage. They basically need drinking water. And the water lab is the only firm that did respond.
Listen to Simon.
From an outsider's perspective, I think we have to contact 3 qualified bidding. Is that what it is?
We did.
Yeah. We did.
Well, and so maybe we did, because if we contacted people, one who didn't respond, one who said that's not what we do, did we really contact? I'm just trying to be the devil's.
We sent our request.
Okay. That sounds perfect.
They always go to whispers.
We say, well, we contacted this company, they don't really do that.
No, it was an RFP, yes.
We requested RFPs.
You can trust Cheryl, always on the up and up.
That must have been done in short order. Right?
Yeah.
So was a 10-day turnaround?
I don't think it was.
Keep whispering.
But yes, it was.
Do we have a required time frame on? Is that
Not on informal, right?
It was informal. Under a contract rules.
Informal.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. I can see people raising these questions, and they should be answered before
These
we
are the
go.
questions. These are the questions we raised last week before we went ahead and did it.
Yeah.
It's the questions we raised last week before we went ahead and did it. Did you just hear her? She spoke too loud this time. She's supposed to keep her voice really low. It was an informal process. What the heck is an informal RFP process?
Yeah, I don't know. I still can't get the question out of my head. Why are these people doing this right here?
Yes. Oh, we're going to get to that. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There we go.
This in hearing right now, so
No, that's
here,
fine.
she's the one.
They're just, simple questions. We did our due diligence and stuff before we go. And do we have a copy of this contract? Or
They are still
working on
there.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
He hasn't seen it.
I'm gonna talk to her today. So have it.
One of the things I was thinking about is you can collect samples of that.
Wait. She just said, yes, we have a copy of the contract. Didn't she just say now, well, we're going to pass it through this guy's secretary or through their office or whatever? If they've got the contract and Simon hasn't seen it and the other two don't even worry about what the contract says, which they obviously don't based on previous things, what does she mean we're going to pass it through there?
Why wouldn't you broadcast a copy of the contract to each one of these commissioners in an email, so that when you come in and you're going to discuss the spending of money on something, that we know what we're talking about.
Because two of them don't need that. They're not going to read the contract. We've seen that many times before. They're not reading these contracts. The contracts, she says she has it, but it sounds like she doesn't. It's not complete. How's she going to share a contract with somebody if it's not complete? They want a decision, but they don't. They're going to get around to getting them the contract before Wednesday, maybe, a few minutes before the thing. Are they going to post it? Do you think they're going to put this contract, the actual contract, in the documentation?
No, I doubt that. I mean, they don't typically do that, but they're
supposed to.
The thing that I'm seeing here so far, until I see something different, is people discussing a contract to paint their neighbor's house. That doesn't make any sense to me. So
yep.
Anyway, okay, minute 33 left here.
To do the testing, and I mean, we could hire anybody to go collect the samples. I mean, I think you want somebody who knows what they're doing, but you don't have to pay to analyze them right away. It would be, I think, that for me would break it up into a feasible approach that we could achieve it on a time frame. Making sure that
it isn't a phase in one sense. There's phase one for the simplifications. Phase one is gathering all the information, establishing some baseline.
So Simon's trying to say, look, we can phase this. We can pay anyone to go gather the samples now, and then we'll look at them later when we've got the money and the time. And
right.
It's, phase, divide it up into phases. Keith Heck says it's not a phase thing. Phase one is gathering and analyzing. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I'm not wise enough about the procedure, about what it is that they're testing, to tell you whether or not that's true or not. You would think that Eric here would be piping in about that topic. But
I'm not going to say anything about that.
I still don't know why they're even doing this.
Well, we're going to get to that. It's at the end. I saved it for last, but it doesn't matter whether it's water or something else. E. coli in your hamburgers, whatever. Mm-hmm. So if you need to test it right away, grab up the samples now and then spend your time testing it, because you need the samples now before the rains come. Right. For burgers. Anyway, so, but Keith is saying, no, we can't do it the way that Simon says, where we grab the samples now and then test them when we've got the time and the money. No, it all has to be done at once. Why?
Yeah, I still.
Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there.
So there's a minute, so let us get to it.
Okay. Next year will be a new reiteration of that. That's a new contract or a new money source to have to come from.
Okay.
But we've also
where's the city's involvement in this? Because we really don't utilize this river water supply.
There we go.
Only in our parks do we utilize it for any kind of public.
And Diane Hoover's not here today, but she was the one that was doing the contacts. And she's contacting legislators, City of Road River, City of Grants Pass. Yeah, City of Grants Pass. I'm trying to get all the people on her list. But she's the one that's making the contacts. And,
because we would want to duplicate what they may be doing.
They're not doing it.
They're not. In fact, the City of Road River is the one that called her and asked her if we were going to be doing anything. So, as I recall.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, listen, when you're going down to City Hall to pay your water bill and you walk into the office, please ask them why they're not concerned about this and not wanting to test the water. And listen, if they don't care, why do we? Why does the county care if the city doesn't care? And they're the ones who are drinking the water. They're the ones who are pumping the water. They're the ones who are treating the water. They're the ones doing all of that. If they don't care, then why is the county pursuing this at all?
Now, what was said at this meeting? Because this then underlines Mike's point. He said, "What about the city?" Keith Heck said, "They're not doing it." Cheryl Walker said, "They're not doing it."
Yeah. I wonder if those two people are properly informed about
That's
this.
why I tried. That's why I called the right person. We now know some of the right people to call. I called the right person in the city, and that person said, "Here's the name of the person you should talk to. He's the interim head of public works, like Rob Brandis is for the county, and this guy will know." So I called that guy. And they said, "I'm sorry, he's not here right now. Please check back later." I said, "Okay, I'm happy. I always talk this way to him. I'm happy to do so. When would be an appropriate time?" And they said, "Well, he's going to be back. Okay, when would be an appropriate time to call him?" "Well, he'll be back right around 5:30. And I said, "What time does your office close?" "Well, it closes right around that same time, but if you call back around that same time, you'll get him because he'll be here." Okay, so this is the oldest trick to play on reporters. I fell for it when I see it. I called.
You call back and you got the recording that says, "I'm sorry, our office is closed right now."
That's exactly right.
Yes,
and even if he was there for another 3 hours, he can't. He won't even know he's being called because they switch it over. This is why did I fall for that?
Yes. Yeah, that's too bad. So, listen, there is the answer to this question here. Maybe they have a perfectly legitimate reason why they're not concerned at all.
The city?
Okay. Yes. Maybe because they already know what these levels are and they're keeping track of this or something. Who knows what that story is, but we'll find out what that story is. But the bottom line is still I understand, okay, you people, that, oh my God, there could be all kinds of stuff in the water. The county has to do it. No, they don't. It's not their thing. Who gets paid for the water that's drank out of the faucet of people in the city? Who pays for that?
Now, and again, where is the county using the water? You heard him say so. Where is the county using the water?
They're using it, in any park that is near the city water system that belongs to the county. We
can't have bad water on the grass at a park.
Okay,
are you crazy?
Listen, drinking water has to be, and why they would be doing that, I have no idea. When the irrigation system, they may not be near the irrigation system, but the irrigation system that's running through this town that has water pumped directly out of the river, it's untreated, and that water is being used by people to irrigate all the time. I would think that they would be concerned about that.
That wasn't brought up here. They're not talking about that, okay?
No, I understand. This is a drinking water situation.
If we need to worry about where the water comes, where it's come from, okay? I'm sorry you didn't hear the part where because we run out of time, but Eric Schaafsman is talking about how they actually did dredge that out, and they really did pull apart of it. I've never heard that, and I would imagine there are a number of people that haven't heard that. When we're looking at this whole thing, that if there's a doubt in anybody's mind, and there are in some people's minds that go, "Oh, there's no doubts. There's no problems. There never will be a problem. Everything is ducky." Okay, or Beaverly or whatever. Anyway, the point is that if you're worrying about whether this is going to happen here, what's happening here, and over a period of time, is it going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, or is it going to dissipate? If you don't know, it does make sense, probably not on a daily basis, as they probably do with the city, but it does make some kind of sense to monitor that, to be extra safe, and to do it with a private company. That's cool. Okay, so maybe it is a multi-year contract that needs to be done, but who needs to sign that multi-year contract?
That would be the people who are using it for drinking water purposes. You are paying the city. If you are taking your drinking water in the city there, you're paying the city, and they're the ones with the money for this. So that's where this needs to be absorbed. In my personal opinion, you can have whatever opinion you want, but I encourage you, when you're down there paying your bill, to ask about it, and perhaps they'll do something about it. And you can refer to tonight's program, and
please do.
to answer the questions of why the county is considering doing this, but the city is not.
They're going to vote on this on Wednesday, the weekly business session coming up on Wednesday. And you know how they're going to vote. Simon's going to say, well, I'm of two minds about this. You already know what's going to happen.
Yes.
I'm playing a devil's advocate.
I have my mind, and then I have Cheryl's mind, and Cheryl's mind's going to win.
They're all going to say yes to this, and they're going to sign this multi-year contract. Maybe they haven't even read it. Look, it's also important for you to know, backing up one day, Tuesday is the final day for the elections. Don't forget, if you live in the city, to don't drink the water. No, don't forget to vote. And don't forget this Sunday that you have to fall back. This Sunday, you have to fall back. Tell them what that means, please, Mike.
Oh, I would hope that all of the people watching this program would be well aware of what that means. There's a very funny video that somebody produced about the time change. It's just a riot. Maybe I'll share that on the program, but no, it's daylight savings time.
You don't want to have to show up at 10 o'clock thinking that you're there on time and you've completely missed it. So just remember.
No, you'd be an hour early.
Yeah, you don't want to show up at midnight either. So, okay, I'm right about that for the first time in this show. So thank you for joining us. We're going to try to always cover the things that are important, even if the newspaper decides not to mention our participation at all. We get yelled at a meeting. We get called, this, that, and the other thing, and you don't know what you're talking about. And obviously you don't understand economic development, Mr. Matthews. Okay, whatever.